Hey guys, and welcome to this quick tutorial on how to build a realistic stone wall with cheap, easily available, and handy materials. Um, as you can see on the left hand side, we already have a wall installed, and the area that we will be concerned with is the one over here around this edge, and then slowly degrading over here up to this point. I think it took me about an hour to build this entire wall here, and only because I was talking to some guys at the time. If I was fully concentrated, then I had just the Dio in mind and wasn't thinking of other things at the same time, I think I could have done it faster. The thing is, you want to be as random as possible when picking the stones that you use for the wall. Well, picking stones for the wall, well, there's different kinds of stones you can pick from. You can go outside and you can look for stones outside and run around and collect stones wherever you can find them. I'm a lazy fucker, right? So I decided I'll go the Hendrik route, the lazy ground route, and well, I could have gone with those. I've had these for quite a while. Actually, when I still was, I never was really into, but when I was concerned with Warhammer and tabletop wargaming, I bought these to put them on the wargaming basis. But these are just too small. Plain simple, these are too small, so they are out of the picture. So what else can we do? Well, like I said, we can go outside and collect rocks, or we can just look what we find in our collection of material that at some point in time I bought. And this is actual stones that are used for railroad building. They are from Falle, which is a railroad company, railroad accessory company. And like as you can see, they are viable in all gauges, like HO, double T, N, and Z. Falle is a German company, but I still think you can get them anywhere. I think I paid €3 for this bag, which does not have a price attached to it, but I think it was like €3 for 250 grams, which is actually quite a lot of stones. And they come in all sizes and shapes. And let me take them out of the bag for you here, so you can actually see what we're dealing with. And I always do it like this when I pick out the stones that I'll be using anyway, so I don't have to grab them out of the bag all the time. Just a random assortment of stones. We just pick them out. Now, how do we fix these stones to the diorama base? Normally I would be using wood glue. Since I'm a cheap and lazy git, I ran out of wood glue. I knew that the bottle of wood glue would at some point be empty, and I always thought you still have time to pick up some wood glue. Well, the time came that the bottle of wood glue was empty. I'm sorry for yawning, I'm a bit tired. When I thought it was time, well, it was too late. So yeah, now I'm out of wood glue, so we'll be using cheap super glue. And I used the cheap super glue on this part, so it's all fine. The only difference that I can see between using wood glue and super glue is if you use wood glue, you have a little more time to move the stones around until you find a position that you like. But like I said, I'm pretty sure that I can manage to do this with the super glue like I did on the other wall there. What you can do before you glue them on, you can actually look for bigger stones which would probably lend themselves better to go on the bottom of the wall. You can actually look at the shapes of the stones and come up with a rough idea of how they might interlock when you put them on there. And we are just going to do like a small area of the wall here, just a short snippet, and then I'll turn the camera off, or maybe I'll do it in a time lapse to show you like what the wall looks like before we actually put some wall filler in the crevices to make it look more like a well-constructed wall that was put in place to actually hold some weight and not just rocks being thrown there to look half decent. So, like I said, we'll just do this first piece here, and we can just start. I think the stone that I actually put there before, I think that's actually quite a good stone to start with. So, we'll just put a drop of super glue there, put our stone there, and we're done. You can actually use tweezers for this. I find that the higher you get, the more reasonable it is to use tweezers. On the lower level stones, you can just do it with your fingers. Put a blob of super glue there, which is a bit annoying because you'll be pouring some super glue on this. Because wood glue, it would be easier to just spread the wood glue on there because it just dries slower. You don't have to go in there with the glue over and over again like I'm doing right now, because as soon as I put one of the stones on there, the super glue has dried on the adjacent positions, and you need to renew the glue. Like right now, because the surface is a bit actually is soaking up the super glue, we need to renew this. And sometimes you have stones like this one, the second one right here, this one, that make it tougher for you to just put them in there because they are oddly shaped. But I actually like those oddly shaped stones because they make it look more realistic, because it looks more random. And then of course we can put on the second layer, and we try to look for stones that kind of interlock with the stones underneath, because when they do this, that allows us to just put them there and have it look like there was some planning involved and on the side of the builder of the wall, the actual wall. And that allows us to make it look as if it is a planned wall and not just rocks being put there to look like rocks. Again, like I said, this wall is supposed to have some stability and is supposed to lend some stability to the area behind it. Of course, this is the we're doing something on camera effect, because the super glue is apparently not really doing the trick right now, but I'm okay with this. I can deal with this, I guess. Alright, let's put another blob of super glue there. And then look again for a nice big stone. Yes, I have some big stones here. That was funny. If only a bit. And then we can, again, take the stone, put it in there, put it in the super glue. Let the super glue set for a couple of seconds. It's you don't need to wait a lot of time. And like I said, this is cheap ass super glue. This is not something like the real good super glue, like the Gorilla Glue or what have you. I don't even know the good brands, because I've always used this cheap German Patex super glue, because I can readily get this and I don't have to buy it. And normally my super glue starts to just dry out on me. And if I spend a lot of money on the super glue, then I always feel bad because I'm wasting money on super glue. Because, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of super glue. I'm not the biggest fan of photo etch, so that's probably the biggest area of use for super glue. And yeah, so let me move the camera and let's zoom in a bit so you actually get a closer picture of what we're doing here. As you can see, there are some imperfections on the Edrang clay that we used as our ground material. But that's not a problem, not at all. Nature is not regular. Nature is not perfect. There are always imperfections in nature. And you just want to take advantage of this. And if the products you use allow you to have some imperfections, it's just so much more useful to you. And it just allows you to do so much more. And actually it takes away from you because you don't have to create randomness if the product you use actually creates randomness on itself, by itself. So there you go. You can actually interlock them like this a bit. That gives the wall a bit of depth, and it looks like the stones on the lower half of the wall are actually a bit heavier and a bit wider, just to give it a good like foundation. I actually enjoy filming longer videos like this, and I realized that lately I've been relegated to short videos because of time constraints, but right now I just decided to take this 20 minutes of my day and just show you guys how I did the wall on the other side and how I do walls in general. So actually it's kind of too high in certain areas already because I wanted it to just really smoothly run out there. But that's not a problem because we still have some space over here where we can just do this as well. And now we look for stones that are actually that fit in there. And I think we found one with this one, which rounds this out quite nicely. And like I said, just try to be as random as possible. And as you can see, we are really random. And if you wonder, there are now so many glue stains on the stones, we just don't care because once we fill in the wall filler and once we prime the entire die, we will have to paint them anyways, which allows us to put randomness, but at the same time some sandy stone colors as well, because this is a desert scene, and although those are actual stones and they actually have stony colors in like a stony gray, I think desert stones, that sounds so weird, would be a bit more yellowy brownish because of the sand that is around, which would sit in all the crevices, and we'll be using pigments on this very, very, very randomly, and there will be a lot of pigment on this dio piece. I can tell you that already, that I'll be spreading the pigment on this like a madman. And of course I'll be using the AK paints like I told you in the last update, and yeah, we'll just knock it out of the park. I'm pretty sure about this, and I hope so at least. And while I'm doing this right now, I've realized that I might just have to do this in 2 separate videos, because lately I cannot use my computer to edit videos. Because if I do this, the editing process just takes too long. So I lately have uploaded the videos straight from my phone to YouTube, which you probably have already figured out. That's the reason why there are no intros to my videos anymore, because like I said, to upload a 10-minute video or roughly 20-minute video like this might become, it would take my computer about a day and a half just to process it, to make it uploadable, to just change file type and stuff, and that's just too much of a hassle, to be honest, and I'm not happy with this. And in the near future, I'm pretty sure that I'll be upgrading my laptop, which has done me awesome service for over 10 years now. But at this point, it's just not up to snuff anymore. And I hate to say that, because I really love my laptop. It's done so much good. Just imagine all the porn I've seen on it. No porn on my laptop. It's sad. It's always sad to see something something go, even if it's just only a laptop. But if it's done good service to you over time, you don't want it to go. Because at least for me, there's some sentimental value in this. But back to what we're doing right here. Like I said, you don't always have to have the stones and like facing the same angle, because let's face it, when they built those walls in the fields somewhere in Africa, they can't be picky. They'll just use the stones that are lying around, and they just make them fit. They just make them go where they want them to go. And like I said, the super glue probably isn't the best thing to use here because it clogs up some of the stone texture. But we can recreate the stone texture once we use the plaster for as wall filler in between the areas, because once this is dry, you will actually be able to look through the stones and see the space in between that the air drying clay is actually shining through, and that just looks weird. And when you look at natural stone walls out there, no matter where you are, even in Europe, in Africa, in America, wherever you are, you can actually see that. Just go outside, look for the next natural stone wall, and I promise you there will be one. If you have to go to a farm, you have to go to a farm, but you will see natural stone walls everywhere. There is something between the stones that kind of functions as, in a cementy way, to just fix them together. Sometimes they even use cement, but I'm not sure whether or not the people in Africa before World War II had cement to build those walls. So I actually think they used clay, they used sand and earth, and just stuffed it in between. And then they used the pressure that the stones create to make it adhere to each other. So we want something in there to make it look like an actual wall that actually has some supporting qualities. So I think now that we're at 17 minutes, I think that's enough for the first installment here. You have seen now how we just created a very randomly looking and very diverse wall-like structure here. You can of course go up here and add even more layers to the top. Like I said, I'll smooth this out, like have it run out to like 2 stones and then 1 stone, and then just be done. Maybe I'll just go around a corner here. I don't know yet, but you got the gist of it. We use stones, small stones, big stones, edgy stones, weird looking stones, what have you, just to blend them together to make a realistic looking wall piece. And I did the same with this, which, as you can see, has the filler in between, which actually makes it look a bit more realistic, I think. And then I had to prime it, and yes, like I said, I'll paint it. I'll blend the edges with the terrain paste from AK, and I think it'll look good. Look, there's some of the air drying clay, which is not supposed to be there. Look how big this looks. When I look at it in real size, it's much smaller, just like your cocksup. Like I said, I like it. Looks really good. And I hope that this is good for you. It helps you a lot. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And I really will try to answer your questions. Like I said, I'll continue building this wall, and then in our next installment we will be looking at how to put plaster of Paris, plain simple plaster of Paris, in the crevices without spilling it all over the place and without covering all of the stones, because this is actually quite hard. I had somebody tell me how to do this, and I'll talk to you about his method in the next installment. Until then, this is Hollywood Modeling. Thank you guys for watching. Keep in mind the force is with you all the times. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time.